Welcome back. Now, there are just over 26 million people who register to vote. That's on the 8th of May. About 1 million of them will be first-time voters. This morning, we're joined in the studio by two of them, young voters, and they are from the University of Pretoria. They are students there, Hilda Thupana and Stephanie Cookson. Hilda, welcome, and Stephanie, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Firstly, I must ask you this question. On Monday on this program, we were speaking about the drop in the number of young people who've registered. In fact, it's like 47% down compared to 2014 elections 5 years ago. So it looks like people who are aged between 18 and 19 are deciding, no, I'm not going to register to vote. The fact that you guys have registered to vote begs a question. I want to start with you, Hilda. Why did you, let's start there first. Why did you register to vote?
Okay, good morning, South Africa. I registered to vote because I believe that currently the state that we are in, the country is going down. So we need a political party that will actually institute change in the country. And I think even though it's not going to happen now, but we are the generation that has to ensure that change.
Okay, so you registered because it's going to give you an opportunity to vote for change. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Stephanie, why did you register?
Good morning. I registered because I was actually very disappointed that I wasn't 18 in the last elections. I think that a lot of people think that perhaps their vote doesn't make a difference, but I've never really felt that way. And I think it's quite exciting to be able to really carve your agency in South Africa. And I think that we all have a role to play in our country and in its future. And I think it's negligent and reckless to not exercise your rights. And I agree that I think I'm excited to kind of take my responsibility for making change and where South Africa is headed, because it's where I'm going to be. So you want your voice to be heard in terms of the future. Okay. I also interviewed a professor of politics from the University of Johannesburg. You guys are from Tux, Pretoria, but students like you in the class of politics. I asked him, what do the students tell you? And he told me, seated where you are, last week, that they're not registering. Why? Because they think it's a waste of time. Nobody's going to hear them. They rather prefer to be involved in protest action, heard their voices differently. They are disappointed about the state of affairs in the country. How do you respond to that, Hilda?
I understand the situation, because currently the struggle that we're facing as students is the education struggle. Fees are very expensive. Like, our parents are, it's very bad. So a lot of students are experiencing that problem. But I feel like if we sit back and we choose not to do anything about it just because it's affecting us as a whole, then our children are going to go through the same stage. So I think it's better if we stand up, even if there is no longer time to fix it for ourselves, but ensure that the generation that is coming is actually secured in terms of education. And
now, Stephanie, when you vote and you put that X on that ballot paper, you are actually choosing a particular path going forward. I'm not going to ask you who we're going to vote for. That's your secret, constitutionally. However, I mean, things might take longer to change. But what would you be hoping your cross will mean?
I think that's a very important question for young people in South Africa. I think, for me, I hope to personally balance out a lot of the power dynamics going on within the national government and on a provincial level. I think that for me it's also about understanding how your vote counts and how everything is calculated. And for example, I hope that, I hope more people realize that that X that you're putting on the paper really does make a difference when a party needs 0.25% of the national vote to have one seat in parliament. And I hope that wherever I do put my cross, it will really work towards giving a much more holistic voice for the needs of South Africans in Parliament.
Okay, from an effective perspective, our Parliament has got 400 seats. Currently, 37 of those seats are shared by 10 small parties. In my book, I mean, I'm not a student like you, you guys are smarter than me, but in my book, that's not really effective, because that means the bulk of the seats are in the hands of one party, that's got the overwhelming majority, and then you got two other main ones, okay? From an effective perspective, how would you want to see our democracy going forward, Hilda? Because some people are currently arguing, if you're not aware, for electoral reform to make your X that you're going to put on the ballot paper in May to count even better than it is now?
I think a way to make the access better is that people should also engage in provincial elections. In order to lift up a party, it starts there. So let us start there. Instead of focusing on national elections, let us start with provincial elections.
That's a very important
first.
thing, because on the 8th of May, we're going to have 2 ballot papers.
Yes.
It's actually, we're voting for 2 systems.
Yes.
We're voting for the provincial one
Yes.
and the national. So you are saying, do not ignore that X on the provincial,
Yes.
what it could mean for you.
Yes, because that's how you lift up a party. That's where the ANC started. It started in, I think it was 1910, being the South African
1912.
Yes. Native Convention.
Yeah,
They
the South African
started
National
locally.
Native Congress.
Yes,
its
and
first
then
name.
when they shifted into being the ANC in 1913, that's when they went national. So they started locally, and that's how they got uplifted. So in order for us to actually recognize those parties, let us start at a provincial level,
So
going up.
You could foresee a situation, I mean, any one of you can answer this one, Stefan and Hilda. You could foresee a situation come the 8th of May where you put an X on a different party on the provincial ballot. I'm just asking an open indication. And you put one on the national. Just coming on the back of what Hilda just said, Stephanie?
Yeah, I think it's something that I only actually recently found out, was that you can actually split your vote. I think a lot of people don't know that it is perfectly fine for you to vote for one party on the national ballot and a different party on the provincial ballot. And I think that a lot of people, I think it's assumed that you have to have some kind of die-hard support for a political party, but I think for a lot of students, I think particularly for us as well, it isn't so much about having a loyalty to a party, it's more really about the effectiveness of our vote and of our government. And that being said, I think splitting your vote doesn't seem like such a controversial idea. It's more just about how you want the power to be balanced, because, for example, having one majority might not necessarily be best.
Okay, very briefly as we conclude, Hilda and Stefan, I'll start with you, Hilda. What would you hope for, I mean, after the elections? Currently, there are so many challenges. I mean, youth unemployment is huge. You've mentioned the cost of education. Currently, we've known about the Fees Must Fall campaign that was led by you students just a couple of years ago. So what would you hope for afterwards? Knowing what you know today, you're going to be voting, you've registered. Great decision, I guess many people will say. The IEC must be smiling if they're watching this program, that young students like yourself have registered to vote. But what would you hope for afterwards? Very briefly, Hilda.
We hope for a better South Africa. We hope for change. There's so much crisis going on. I have recently found out that the ESCOM is insolvent. That needs to change. We really, really need change. We really, really need a focused country that is focused on helping us too. Because if the youth is being stampled upon, then we are the generation. Then there's no better future for the country. So we need change. We need South African students, and especially the young generation, to be lifted up again so that we can assist where we can assist. I believe that we have so much potential, but because of the current state of the country, our potential is not seen out there.
Thank you. Stephanie?
I would really like to see a rebalance of power come in to Parliament on a national level and on a provincial level, and I hope that that rebalancing of power would kind of show people the impact that smaller parties can have, to give them a chance to really seriously revise why it is that we vote with loyalty rather than with an effective kind of solution-based approach. And I really, really hope that that would encourage more people to vote and feel like it will make a difference in future.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Stefan Cookson and Hilda Thupana, 2 students from University of Pretoria who have registered to vote.